I found the inspiration to create button scarf is not because I'm a designer, but simply because number one, I found it problematic to find at that time to find modest wear but fashionable, So I still want to be modest, but I want to be still be stylish, be modern, and I want to be expressive.
This is Linda Anggrea, my guest on this episode of Lives of Tomorrow. Today we're looking into the future of modest wear, and so by that I mean a style of clothing that emphasises probably a more conservative approach to dressing, while crucially still being fashionable and expressive. Now, the team at WGSN have been forecasting for the modest wear industry for a number of years now, although it wasn't something we did when we first launched 27 years ago, I think, but certainly it's demand that we're seeing in the industry. But Linda is the CEO of the fashion brand ButtonScarves. They're a premium Indonesian fashion and lifestyle brand specialising in headscarves, or hijabs as you might know them, and modest wear for modern women. We're going to discuss the landscape of this space, plus the key trends and consumer behaviours shaping it. Why is modest wear growing in popularity on the high street, in our feeds and even the catwalk? And what does this mean for fashion overall and our approach to what and why we wear what we do? I'm Carla Buzasi, CEO of WGSN, the world's leading trend forecasting company. And you're listening to Lives of Tomorrow, the WGSN podcast about how we'll live our lives in the future. So Linda, could you please introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hello everyone, I'm Linda Anggrea, the CEO of ButtonScarves.
Now, Linda, why do you think, there's so many angles we could take on modest wear, but let's start with why do you think it's growing in popularity on the high street at the moment?
Actually, the growing in popularity among people wearing modest wear is sometimes aligned with the religious principle and guideline of many faiths. Not only one single religion, but many faiths. However, it is important to note that the appeal of modest fashion extends beyond the religious reasons, because in recent years, we have seen a broader cultural shift toward inclusivity, diversity, and personal expression in fashion, right? And many people embracing modest fashion for reasons such as comfort, practicality, and the desire for more versatile wardrobe that can be an option and transition in between the different occasion and setting from professional to social environment. From what I see, modest fashion can offer that. You can easily go from professional environment to social, just one type of wear, and then you can just go with any occasion. And moreover, to me, the rise of social media plays very important role in this boom of the modest fashion. It has provided a platform for influencer, designer who advocate the modest fashion, making it more visible and accessible to everybody. The trend is not just about following religious guidelines, but also about making a statement of empowerment, redefining beauty standards, and also choosing styles that reflects our personal value and identity. So I think overall, modest wear's growing popularity is the reflection of the changing fashion landscape.
Are you seeing this across the globe, or is it in particular parts of the world? Because I think with my Western lens, and a lot of the listeners to this podcast will be in Europe or the Americas, if you said modest wear, the first association they would have, which is this is stemming from people who are wearing this kind of clothing because of religious or cultural practices. But are you seeing across the globe people without perhaps those religious beliefs buying into modest wear?
I see more and more trend becoming big for the modest wear, not only in the East, but also globally, because we can see it is becoming mainstream now. Many big global brands start to promote the modest collection. For example, big brand during the certain month, they will have a special limited edition to introduce the modest version of their collection. Meaning that the need is not only from the East now, it is also from the West.
Linda, do you think some of this might stem from the pandemic? Because we certainly saw post-pandemic world, people were looking for more comfort because they'd got very used to not having to dress in more structured clothing. People had been in their houses, in their joggers and the, kind of cozy clothing. And then as we went back out into the world, that need for comfort continued. Do you think that's had an impact as well? And that might also be part of the rise for this need and want for modest wear?
I agree because actually from our brand also, we during the pandemic, we increased by 11 times within in the time span of only 2.5 years. It is because during pandemic, people are looking for something that is easily to wear at home, to wear if you want to go just for something, but also it is providing instance that because in the modest wear, it is not too much appealing your skin. And then during the pandemic also, we see that the designers are working hard to prove that the modest fashion also becoming very stylish because the demand is getting higher from here and there. So the brand is elevating the look, making it more and more and more modern and more appealing to younger generation now.
Is it you're seeing younger generations who are driving the style lens and the need for it, or is it multi-generational that you're seeing it?
Previously, for example, like 8 years ago when I founded ButtonScarves, why I try to put modest fashion in the market is because long back, let's say 10 years ago, people are wearing modest wear. We will feel old fashioned. It is only for all people and then not fashionable, not stylish. But now, since so many brands are promoting the modest wear and then make it more modern look, more stylish, many younger generation also get involved in wearing it and then they promote it. Many influencers are proud wearing modest wear and then now it is becoming mainstream thing. So previously when you feel like, oh my God, I feel so old and outdated when wearing modest wear, but now it's like I can be stylish as like general fashion.
Are you seeing when maybe it's sort of a newer consumer coming in and buying modest wear, are they wholesale changing their wardrobes or are they adding modest wear? So they might still wear less modest clothing some of the time and modest wear other times, or is their entire wardrobe evolving?
It can be both and it can be a mix. But for me, for example, I choose to wear modest wear every time I go out my home. And then for some people, they choose to wear modest wear in some occasion and also another type of clothing and in other collection. But now we can see at every collection of the brand, even though it is not specifically modest brand, for a global brand, for instance, during summer also, you can find something that is long sleeve. You can find something loose and easy to wear. So they sort of incorporate both style. So it is becoming now modest style is becoming a part of just your daily lifestyle.
I think there probably are still preconceptions about modest wear, and I think those will be tied up with religious conceptions. What would you say to somebody who at the moment thinks you only dress this way if you have religious beliefs? What's your sort of encouragement to them that this is something that anybody can add into their repertoire, as it were?
We also do some effort to promote that modest fashion is not something odd. It's just regular things. So it's a choice that you can make whether you want to wear modesty or not, right? And also, even though we see that the religion and culture play a crucial role in shaping the modest fashion landscape, but for many people, it is also something they choose because it's just the pattern is beautiful, the color is beautiful, and it happened to be the cutting of the shape of the clothes is modest. So for me, we are consistently trying to promote and then without saying modest because we just try to promote the shape and everything to so many kind of people. For example, same clothes worn by the people who wear scarf or hijab, and then the same thing also worn by some people with a different mix and match. So we make this modest fashion to become just as regular as it is. So I'm trying to say that nowadays we can just see modest fashion as something usual, and you don't have to wear hijab to also put on a modest fashion.
Okay. Now, you've been working with WGSN for some time now. So we provide trend information for lots of industries, but a lot of the fashion industry utilize this. How do our trend forecasts intersect with the work that you do to ensure that what you are creating is trend-led, that it's fashion-forward? How do you use us?
Even though we are producing modest wear, but we are trying to stay relevant with the trend as much as possible. And with this, WSN helping us to shape our future collection to stay in the game. So even though for the past few years it's not much yet covered about modest fashion, but we can still use the common guidelines. As you can see, for example, the we can always apply. For example, the trend is about sheer fabric. We can still use sheer fabric for our collection, but we put lining inside it to make it to adjust it to our style, something like that. And we always try and see the result if we are incorporating the trend that is predicted by WGSN with the rule that we have. For example, it has to be comfortable and everything. It is a perfect recipe for us to still be modest, but still keeping us ahead of the trend. And it is becoming like a successful, I can say, trick for us to easily understand of what style are we going to be for the future, because to just make it in the modest version.
Yeah, I think everything you're saying is really fascinating in terms of perhaps people's misconceptions or preconceptions about modest wear, but also how it's going to evolve, which is this is just as fashionable or can be just as fashionable as any other kind of clothing. It's just that it covers slightly more of the body. And if you think about it that simply, this is something that anybody can buy into. Let's talk a little bit more about you for a moment, and then we'll come back to the topic in hand. So these are very kind of quick fire questions. Just answer the first thing that comes into your head. Nothing necessarily to do with modest fashion. When are you happy?
I am happy every day because I have to. If I'm not happy, I couldn't work.
I don't think anyone has said they're happy all the time. Is that something, do you work hard to be happy all the time, or you just have a happy personality?
It's actually related to work because I really love working. So when people try to escape work, I find it enjoying for me, and I find to have a me time during working. When you really love what you do, you spend as much time in it, and then you still feel happy and content. And I also work with my best friend. So for me, so far, for the past 8 years, it's been good time.
Okay, however big or small, what one day-to-day life hack could you not live without? It could be a ritual, it could be a product, it could be an app. What's the one thing that you need every day to get you through?
So for me, very, very important that every day I do one action.
Okay.
So, for example, I would rather do one small things than just planning. So for me, just planning things without doing action will get you to nowhere. But if you do one action a day, it will lead you to a big things in the future. For example, for me today, it's the action to make an improvement in the January collection. So I take a look again, I take back whatever we already decide, and I re-choose it again to not regret it. So when I want to sleep, I can see that in January, I will not regret it anymore because I already see the collection 2-3 times and I'm already happy with it.
Okay, last question about you. How and when do you prioritize yourself?
It's hard because for me, during the past 9 years to grow the company to this size, I almost never prioritize myself because I know there is something bigger, because I always reminded by the people who support behind me, that I always put them in front in order for me to be motivated. Because I always have this belief that whenever you are prioritizing yourself less, put people more in front, and then God will take care of you.
Okay. Right, we're going to get back into the topic, but we're going to look forward now and how modest wear will evolve in the future. Do you think we're going to see it being adopted more in the West over the next 5 to 10 years? Or do you think the people who might want to adopt modest wear into their wardrobes have already found it?
Modest fashion will continue to gain popularity and acceptance beyond just the niche market. And then we will see growing global influence, with modest wear becoming more common across different cultures and religion, not limited to religious context anymore. And also, this shift, I think, will be driven by the fashion industry's recognition of a demand for diverse style options that maybe respect different cultural and personal values.
Do you think that, and this comes a little bit back to preconceptions about modest wear, that often, and I will group myself into this category, that the perception is that this is men or this is religious beliefs that is demanding that women dress this way, and that those are the factors that are forcing this. Now, you're a woman, you're the CEO of a brand that creates this. Clearly, this is your vision. This isn't coming from anybody else. But do you think perceptions will change in the future?
Yeah, I believe the perception will change as we see more acceptance, because we see nothing's odd with modest fashions. It's just like the way we style it, the way we wear it makes you feel more comfortable. So it is shifting, and then you can see more inclusivity, and then personal expression is easily shown in modest fashion also.
Okay. All right. Now let's talk about how we've touched on social media being a driving force for modest wear. You've shifted your approach quite considerably in terms of how you engage with your consumers. So I understand you're one of the first local brands in Indonesia to start using live streaming shopping activation. Is that going to be your main approach in the future? Or do you still think that people still want to go into stores? So talk to me about how modest wear is going to be sold in the future from your perspective.
I think in the future, there will be more and more ways to sell products. And then it will be more make our customer easier to shop. Live is one of it. And then why we started to do live for shopping experience is because during pandemic, it is also based on WGSN reports, by the way. I see the reports saying that fashion need to adjust fast during pandemic. So one of the way we can use to show the product details and everything to our customers is through live. And then we did it, and then it was very successful. And one of the main reason for the 10x growth is because we are doing live, that we can also communicate to our customer the product, show them how it is, but also it will become more and more omni-channel in the future. You are still needing to sell the product offline, because the experience of offline, you couldn't replace it by just doing live. Our customer love to go to the store and then touch the material. The scent of the stores is very signature. They want to experience themselves. And then when they try it, the feeling is different. But for a quick and easy, and as a current generation, especially Gen Z, they can easily understand the material just by looking at the from the screen. They can easily convert. But for some generation, for example, like me, I'd rather to buy offline, because for me, to make a purchase decision on a fashion items, I really need to touch and feel it and really immerse with it. So it depends on the people. So for us as a brand, we need just to provide every single channel that can touch our future customer.
Yeah, look, I think that's similar for, it doesn't matter what you're selling fashion wise. In fact, it doesn't matter what you're selling at all now. Consumers are very demanding and they want to have it where they want to have it. They need to be able to see it online. But yes, we still sometimes like touching and trying on in person. Can I just ask you a slightly different topic, but you're a female CEO in this world. Is that unusual? So modest wear brands, are they typically run by women or are they typically run by men?
From what I see, especially in Indonesia, it is common that a modest brand is led by a woman, because I found that many similarities, that they found their own problem to wear clothes, modesty, and then they just created one. So in Indonesia, the leading brand of modest brand mostly are led by women. Either it is coming from a woman designer or also, but for me, I found the inspiration to create button scarf is not because I'm a designer, but simply because number one, I found it problematic to find at that time, to find modest wear but fashionable, you know. So I still want to be modest, but I want to be still be stylish, be modern, and I want to be expressive.
Yeah. To sort of wrap things up, I mean, I normally ask people whether they're more anxious or hopeful about the future. I sort of feel I don't need to ask you that because I think you're just going to say that you're hopeful and excited about it. So, presuming that is your answer, what is it that excites you so much about this whole industry?
I'm so excited for the future of the modest fashion, because I see, again, I want to say that increasing global acceptance, it is very important, because I also see there is an opportunity for a collaboration across industry partnership. Because for example, for us, we collaborate with Disney, and then we created so many collection about it, and then we tell stories about it. We tell the inspirational from each character, and then people just accept it. If a modest fashion already can collaborate with a big name like Disney, I
Yeah.
think the future will be bright.
Linda, now I want to know, hold on a minute, you did a collaboration with Disney. What did that look like?
Yeah, actually, when I see that, I am inspired by my daughter, because like every time she wanted to buy a new school bags and whatever something new, they always want, mommy, I want to buy this character, that character, and then I'm like, aha, this is a good. Everybody know Disney and everybody love the Disney movie stories. So I was inspired that I contacted Disney to explore the collaboration, and then I tell them how we wanted to change the perception of the modest wear, that we have a very good community. So at some point, if I'm not mistaken, 3 years ago, Disney believed in our vision and we started to do the collaboration. And then
Wow.
long story short, we are now at our third year, and every year we launch 3 or 4 collection collaborating with them. And then even we launch a scarf that is, for example, inspired by the Little Mermaid story. You can see the artwork clearly, really clearly, that is it is related to the movie.
Wow, that's really amazing. That's so cool. Have you done any other collaborations with any other kind of international brands?
Recently, we collaborate with the Emily in Paris, the TV series.
Yep, I do.
We do the shooting in Paris, and then we show the best friend walking together, just mimicking how Emily will wear the fashion. So, and then we launch it together with the launch date of the series itself in the Netflix. So we get the hype, and then our customer are very happy about it. So while they watch the TV series, they also can relate with the product that we are selling in the store right now.
Amazing. That's so cool. I was in Paris recently and one of my colleagues spent the day, it was during the Olympics and there's all these things, and spent the day going to all the Emily in Paris locations.
Yeah, that's what we do during the shooting. So we shoot at every spot that Emily also shoots. So it is kind of to make the relation so that our customer can get inspiration also.
I think this is such a lovely way to kind of wrap things up, because if people came to this podcast and had preconceptions that modest wear is about religion and religious beliefs, and now we're talking about Emily in fashion inspired modest wear being shot on the streets of Paris, and those two things are there's such a big contrast between them, and it's absolutely fascinating, really fascinating. A big thank you to Linda Anggrea. Next week, WGSN's Create Tomorrow podcast is back with another episode where we look into the future of design and product. I'm Carla Buzasi, CEO of WGSN, and I'll see you next time.